The first message from Earth arrived 31 days after they left orbit. It wasn't words. It was screaming. Commander Elias Ward stared at the flickering transmission while the cockpit lights pulsed red around him. Behind him, the rest of the crew sat frozen in silence as Earth's final emergency frequencies crackled through the speakers. Riots, food collapse, coastal flooding, entire cities without power. And then, static. The transmission cut out forever. No one spoke after that. The Odyssey continued drifting through deep space in complete silence, carrying humanity's final exploration crew toward a planet no one truly believed existed. Kepler 442X, a world discovered decades earlier through distorted telescope data. Earth-like atmosphere, stable oxygen levels, water, hope, or at least the illusion of it. The mission had originally been exploration. Now, it was survival. Nearly 9 months later, the crew finally saw it, a blue and green planet floating inside a dark sea of stars. Too perfect. "Tell me someone else sees this," whispered Harper from navigation. Elias leaned forward slowly. Cloud systems spiraled beautifully across the planet's surface. Massive continents stretched beneath glowing sunlight. It looked almost identical to Earth. Too identical. Even the oceans reflected light the same way. "That's impossible," Malik muttered. A silence settled over the cockpit. None of them wanted to say what they were thinking. It looked copied. The landing went smoother than expected. No storms, no unstable terrain, no radiation spikes, just endless forests and quiet wind moving through silver-colored grass. Elias stepped onto the surface first. The air smelled clean, fresh, real. For the first time in almost a year, the crew removed their helmets. Harper laughed softly. "We actually made it." Even Elias smiled. For a moment, everything felt okay. Then Sophia noticed the footprints. Not theirs. Dozens of them, pressed deep into the soil near the landing site. Bare human footprints, all facing the ship. That night, none of them slept. The planet was too quiet. No insects, no birds, no animal sounds. Nothing. Just wind. At 2:13 a.m., the motion alarms activated outside the Odyssey. Elias grabbed a flashlight and rushed to the cockpit monitors. Movement surrounded the ship. Shapes, tall figures standing motionless beyond the darkness. Watching. Harper zoomed in with trembling hands. The figures looked human, but something was wrong with their faces. They weren't moving naturally. They stood perfectly still, almost like mannequins pretending to breathe. And every single one of them was smiling. The figures disappeared before sunrise. No tracks, no evidence, nothing. Malik tried joking about it over breakfast, but nobody laughed. Later that afternoon, Sophia discovered the town. It sat hidden beyond the forest, roughly 6 miles from the landing zone. Small houses, streetlights, vehicles, a playground. Everything looked abandoned, yet somehow untouched by time. Elias entered the nearest home cautiously. Dust covered the floors, family photographs lined the walls, but every photo showed the same people. The same faces repeated again and again. Different clothes, different homes, same smiles, same eyes, same family, over and over. Harper suddenly froze near the hallway mirror. "Guys?" Everyone turned. The mirror reflection lagged behind her movement by half a second. That night, Malik vanished. No screams, no alarms, just gone. The only thing left behind was his recorder sitting outside the ship door. Elias played the footage. At first, it showed Malik standing guard beside the ship. Then the camera slowly tilted toward the forest. Someone stood between the trees. A woman. She looked exactly like Malik's wife back on Earth. Malik began crying. The recording ended when he walked into the darkness toward her voice. The crew wanted to leave immediately, but the Odyssey wouldn't start. Every navigation system had been rewritten overnight. Coordinates replaced with symbols no one understood. Something had accessed the ship. Something intelligent. That's when Harper finally admitted what she saw earlier. "There aren't people on this planet," she whispered. "There's something pretending to be people." Then the knocking started. 3 slow knocks against the hull, from outside. Then another, and another. Soon, dozens of knocks echoed around the ship from every direction. Elias looked through the camera feed. The smiling figures had returned, hundreds of them, standing shoulder to shoulder around the Odyssey, waiting. Sophia died first. One moment, she stood beside the engine room door. The next, something pulled her violently into the darkness. Her screams echoed through the corridors for nearly 10 seconds before cutting off completely. Harper broke down crying. Elias locked every hatch aboard the ship while the creatures outside continued smiling into the cameras. Then the voices began. Perfect imitations. Sophia begging for help. Malik screaming from outside. Even voices from Earth. Family members, friends. People who should have been millions of miles away. The creatures knew everything. By the 4th night, Harper discovered the truth hidden beneath the planet's surface. Massive tunnels stretched for miles underground. Inside them, bodies. Thousands of them. Human bodies suspended along the walls like preserved trophies. Some old, some fresh, some still breathing. And deeper below, something enormous moved in the darkness. Not one creature. A hive, an intelligence, ancient, waiting, learning, copying. Harper realized the horrifying truth seconds before the tunnels collapsed around them. The planet itself was alive. The surviving crew barely escaped back to the Odyssey, but the creatures were already inside. Elias watched one of them walk down the hallway wearing Sophia's face, smiling. Its jaw slowly unhinged wider than humanly possible. Harper sealed the corridor door just before it reached them. "We have one chance," she said breathlessly. The engines could be manually overloaded for launch, but someone would need to stay behind to keep the reactor stable. A suicide job. Elias refused immediately, but Harper grabbed his arm. "If Earth still exists, they need to know." "No. You're the commander." Tears filled her eyes. "You have to survive." The launch sequence began. Warning sirens screamed through the ship. Outside, thousands of smiling figures rushed across the landing site. Harper and Daniel stayed behind in the reactor chamber while Elias sprinted toward the cockpit. The final thing he heard over comms was Harper's voice. "Whatever this thing is, don't let it reach Earth." Then static. The Odyssey blasted into the sky as the surface below erupted into flames. But just before orbit, Elias saw them. Millions of figures standing across the planet's continents, all staring upward, watching him leave. Smiling. It took Elias nearly a year to return home. Earth was still alive. Barely. Governments collapsed. Entire coastlines abandoned. But humanity survived. And when Elias finally stepped out of the rescue shuttle, the world treated him like a miracle. The last astronaut, the last witness. For weeks, he told officials everything. The planet, the creatures, the hive beneath the surface. Nobody believed him at first, until they reviewed the footage recovered from the Odyssey. After that, the interviews stopped. The military took everything, classified all of it, and Elias noticed something strange. People began watching him differently, smiling too long, standing too still. Sometimes he'd catch strangers staring at him without blinking, like they recognized him, like they were waiting. Then came the signal. 3 weeks after his return, Earth observatories detected something moving beyond the edge of the solar system. Not a ship, not a meteor. Something massive, something alive, heading directly toward Earth. Elias sat alone during the final interview recording, pale and exhausted beneath dim lights. "They helped me escape," he whispered into the camera. "Harper, Daniel, they stayed behind so I could warn everyone." He looked toward the dark corner of the room, then back at the camera. "But I don't think we escaped it." The lights flickered overhead. Somewhere beyond the interview room door, 3 slow knocks echoed through the hallway. Elias stopped breathing. Knock, knock, knock. The recording ended there. This tape was never meant to be found, but now that you've seen it, you're part of it. If anything feels off, don't ignore it. And whatever you do, don't rewind. Subscribe for the next transmission.